에이 연변!
너 뭐 씨발 아디다스 모델이냐? 어?
야, 한기철!
아 진짜 오해라니까 그날 성진이랑 같이 있었어. 너희라면 정말 우리 끝이다.
그래, 그럼 끝내. 안 나? 와!
장민아 거기 안 서. 진짜 오해라니까. 야 장민아.
Pil-ho is a local detective in Seoul, but he is far from a crusader against crime. Instead, he is a corrupt cop who works hand in hand with it. So if you want to cooperate with gangs, you have to be even worse than they are. For that reason, he often orders his underling Ji-chul to sneak out late at night to steal money that cannot see the light of day, claiming to act in the name of justice, but in reality breaking the law and lining their own pockets.
너 뒤질래? 하나, 둘.
죄송합니다.
양말 이 개새끼야. 아까 넣는 거 봤어요. 씨발 빨리 빼.
On a regular basis, he also helps gang members get people released, which is another way he makes money. Fortunately, there are many colleagues who think the same way as he does and are willing to help him pull people out, and the returns from doing this are naturally extremely lucrative. But such blatant behavior is bound to attract the attention of internal affairs, because he was once caught by internal affairs for secretly taking dirty money. But with the gang's cooperation and insufficient witnesses and evidence, Pil-ho managed to escape punishment. However, internal affairs is not foolish, and for scum that damages the reputation of the police, they will keep a close watch at all times, waiting for Pil-ho to slip up so they can finish him from within. So Pil-ho knows very well that he has to make one more big score and leave as soon as possible. To make matters worse, the liquor business he invested in with the gang is still short of a large final payment. If they default, they will lose the huge deposit they already put in, and that is Pil-ho's escape route. Because of this, he decides to find his underling and do one last big job. But just as he steps into the elevator, he runs into a strange girl, a teenage girl dressed head to toe in an Adidas tracksuit who suddenly rushes in. Her unconventional outfit makes Pil-ho mutter a couple of sarcastic remarks to himself.
너 뭐 씨발 아디다스 모델이냐?
After giving this strange middle-aged man a look of disdain, the girl leaves one slipper wedged in the elevator door, then struts forward, pulls out a liquor bottle, and heads toward Pil-ho's underling's place.
야, 한기철, 가방.
못 줘. 너희라면 정말 우리 끝이다.
그래, 그럼 끝내.
Seeing how sharp young people are these days, Pil-ho truly feels inferior, and cannot help sighing that their era is ultimately being replaced by the younger generation. That only makes him more convinced that he needs to pull off one big job now, fill his pockets in one go, and then retire comfortably once business turns around.
작업하는 더 하자.
So that very night, the target they decide to steal from is the warehouse where the police store seized goods. To ensure everything goes smoothly, Pil-ho calls in gang members to provide cover and cut off the surveillance lines. Once the perimeter is secured, Pil-ho immediately has Ji-chul sneak into the warehouse to quietly steal valuable items, while he stays outside on lookout, listening in on the internal patrol radio channel.
근데 지가 정록 생명이지 말입니다 형님.
근데
뻘공오고 초로오고 헷갈리지 말입니다 형님.
근데 이 새끼야?
아니 그냥 둘 다 똥색이라 그냥 둘 다 잘라버렸지 말입니다.
A series of foolish moves by incompetent teammates instantly turns the situation complicated. What gives Pil-ho an even bigger headache is that he cannot get through to Ji-chul on the phone, so he has no choice but to take the risk himself, approach the warehouse, and sneak inside to warn him.
여보, 야 나와.
뭐야 이거? 씨발.
An explosion that happens in an instant completely leaves Pil-ho stunned. He originally planned to quit after this job, but not only did they fail to get the goods, people were trapped inside as well, and things spiral completely out of control. When Pil-ho wakes up, he finds himself lying in a hospital. Afterward, the chief and his colleagues all rush over, but Pil-ho's rambling explanation leaves even the chief unable to hold back his complaints. Even so, the protective chief still gives Pil-ho a warning.
무슨 일인지 안 물어본다. 알고 싶지도 않아. 내 필요야. 짜장 먹으면 입에 짜장 묻어. 묻은 게 짜장인데 자꾸 짬뽕이라고 우길래? 입 싹 닦고 안 먹은 척해야지. 응? 얼른 복귀해. 복귀해서 입 닦아.
After hearing the chief's reminder, Pil-ho immediately goes to retrieve the phone used for contact, throws away the SIM card, and destroys the phone, thereby wiping out evidence of his wrongdoing. After that, as he looks at his underling's burned body, his emotions become mixed and hard to describe. He had intended to do one last job with him, but never expected it to cost a young life. However, the forensic examiner tells Pil-ho that Ji-chul should have died before the explosion, otherwise his airway would not have been so clean, without any soot. Only then does Pil-ho realize that this matter is not so simple. Meanwhile, at the explosion site, a fire captain quietly picks up a phone and reports to a mysterious person that everything has been burned away. Hearing this, the mysterious person finally turns around in satisfaction, and what he is doing now is having a technician restore a burned phone, which is the phone Ji-chul was using.
내가 좀 급한데. 2시간?
Seeing that the restoration will take a long time, the man issues a harsh threat.
그런데 누구는 폰 하나 고치는데 이틀이나 걸려.
For a burned phone to matter so much to this man, the contents inside must be extraordinary. Sure enough, not long after, the landlord who rented the warehouse to the police dies under mysterious circumstances, and even deliberately leaves behind a note claiming he set the fire to scam insurance money, caused deaths by accident, and ended his own life out of fear. This far-fetched explanation immediately makes the experienced Pil-ho sense something is wrong, but he is no hero of justice, and this incident instead helps cover up the fact that Ji-chul's death has nothing to do with him. Meanwhile, on the other side, the fire captain who knows the truth calls the police to turn himself in, all to avoid being hunted down, because the dead landlord and he were working together, both serving a company called Taesung. It is because the conglomerate boss of that company, Young Hee-hyang, illegally raised $780 million, drawing the attention of prosecutors, and the key evidence was destroyed in that fire. With physical evidence gone, the witnesses must be dealt with as well. The mysterious man appears once again, and it turns out he is Kwon Tae-ju, the top enforcer of the Taesung group. Beneath his harmless-looking appearance lies an extremely ruthless heart. The person truly behind the warehouse explosion was none other than Kwon Tae-ju. Earlier, when he was helping the Taesung group destroy evidence, he was accidentally spotted by Ji-chul who had come to steal, so Ji-chul secretly recorded a video of them in action. But after being discovered, Kwon Tae-ju directly eliminated Ji-chul. After all loose ends were taken care of, Young Hee-hyang of the Taesung group walked free, openly and without consequence.
일 처리가 아주 깔끔하세요. 싹 다 죽여버리고.
검사님도 고급 찍고 청에 가셔야지. 언제 식사나 마십시다.
That meaningful remark even forced the prosecutor to consider whether he should stand on the side of the conglomerate boss Young Hee-hyang. But in fact, the trouble was far from over, because after Ji-chul's phone was successfully restored, Kwon Tae-ju revealed that the video Ji-chul recorded before his death had been sent to two people. One was Ji-chul's ex-girlfriend, and the other was Pil-ho, who happens to be a detective.
이자 쫓됐다. 똑박 쓰고 깜빵하게 생겼다.
Faced with Young Hee-hyang's mockery, Park Bo-chan remains completely unmoved, because as a top enforcer, there is no one he cannot deal with. Meanwhile, Pil-ho only wants to retrieve the money stored at Ji-chul's place, but when he goes to Ji-chul's home, he finds that the cash has already been completely cleaned out. To find out who took the money, Pil-ho abuses his authority to access surveillance footage, and discovers that the biggest suspect is Ji-chul's ex-girlfriend Mina. Following the clues, Pil-ho tracks down Mina's friend, and through him manages to catch this troublesome street girl. While escorting her, Pil-ho bluntly tells her that Ji-chul died not long ago. Only then does Mina recall that Ji-chul once sent her a video, but Pil-ho pays no attention to that, because he has no intention of falling for tricks from a girl like her. Seeing that this tactic does not fool Pil-ho, Minao pretends to foam at the mouth. Soft-hearted by nature, Pil-ho has no choice but to have someone unlock her handcuffs. Unexpectedly, he really falls into the trap. A seasoned veteran stumbling at the last moment, getting played by a young girl. After the incident, when Pil-ho returns to the police station, Internal Affairs comes knocking. This time, Internal Affairs accuses Pil-ho of stealing seized assets and then silencing people afterward. Pil-ho, who happens to appear at every crime scene, finds himself unable to defend himself at all, proving that when someone wants to pin a crime on you, words are meaningless. The two sides argue fiercely, and at that moment, prosecutor Sun-sik suddenly arrives at the station, specifically to see Pil-ho. After their investigation and tracking, they discover that the person who died in the warehouse was connected to Pil-ho, and that the phone used by the deceased had sent out 2 videos before death, one to Minao, and the other to Pil-ho. Only then does Pil-ho recall that he once received a text message outside the warehouse, but he ignored it, and later destroyed both the SIM card and the phone. Sun-sik knows none of this, so when facing the stubborn Pil-ho, he privately reaches an agreement with him.
야, 조피로 잘 들어. 저 옆방 애들이 긁어모은 똥만 갖고도 너 10년 넘게 살아. 영장 한번 치고 꺾자. 내가 네 똥 치워줄 테니까 옷 벗고 민간인으로 살아. 동영상 갖고 와.
Finding the deal acceptable, Pil-ho locates the phone inside the bag Minao left behind, but without the password, he has no choice but to find the person involved. So he heads to Mina's home, intending to retrieve the money Minao took as well. At the same time, Kwon Tae-ju tracks down Mina's friend, and after learning Mina's phone number but not her whereabouts, he decisively takes care of this useless man.
정말 민증만 불러주세요.
He then uses SIM card tracking to locate Nina's phone, and coincidentally traces it straight to Nina's home. Inside the house, he runs straight into Pil-ho, who is searching through the place. Kwon Tae-ju lies and claims to be Nina's teacher to gain entry, and just like that, 2 ill-intentioned men collide under the same roof.
그 폰 좀 줄래요? 장민아 거?
뭐? 담임이래.
As an old-school detective, Pil-ho is no match for this killer at all, and in just a short moment, Kwon Tae-ju knocks Pil-ho unconscious. Just then, the real homeowner Minao returns, and the moment she steps inside, she senses a strong aura of danger, slowly turning her head to see that Kwon Tae-ju has been waiting for her. Catching sight of the collapsed Pil-ho out of the corner of her eye, Minao realizes the danger, but even if she wants to run, it is already too late. Park Bo-chan has no regard for age, morality, or decency. He only sees people as prey, and once they fall into his hands, whether they live or fall depends entirely on his mood.
아니야. 난 네가 살아있는 게 불편해.
At the critical moment between life and death, Pil-ho wakes up in time and charges forward with all his strength. However, falling from the second floor barely causes any real damage to 2 strong men. In the end, it is Mina's flower pot that knocks Kwon Tae-ju down. Still shaken, the 2 immediately flee the scene. An impatient Pil-ho demands that Mina unlock the phone right away, but Mina insists that he help her with one thing before she hands over the password. Only when they arrive at an underground clinic does Pil-ho understand that Mina is doing all this for her close friend. It turns out this fierce girl values emotional bonds above anything else. After obtaining the password, Pil-ho is deeply shocked when he sees the contents of the video, and he immediately informs the prosecutor, hoping to raise the stakes of the deal. Unexpectedly, Sun-sik agrees without hesitation, promising to take the video and the girl, and even offer Pil-ho a promotion. Blinded by desire, Pil-ho believes the words of this powerful prosecutor, and even when the meeting place is set at a laundromat, he lets down his guard completely. But when nothing goes wrong, something always does.
왔어요?
Sure enough, prosecutor Sun-sik is in league with the Tae-sun group. After getting the video from Pil-ho, Kwon Tae-ju demands that he hand over another phone as well, because there is still another phone that received the video. This makes Kwon Tae-ju believe that Pil-ho is still hiding something, but Pil-ho is not foolish. He understands that if the phone he destroyed were assumed to still exist, it would be his bargaining chip to stay alive. So no matter how brutal Park Bo-chan's methods are, he cannot tell the truth.
원모폰 어딨어요?
쫓겨나요 씨발놈아.
Seeing that Pil-ho refuses to comply, Kwon Tae-ju naturally finds another way to pressure him by using Mina's life as leverage. In order to save Mina, Pil-ho lies and says that the phone is inside the police station. As long as the evidence is assumed to still exist, both of them can stay alive. Satisfied, Kwon Tae-ju decides that Mina is no longer useful, throws a stack of cash at her, and tells her to get lost. But after being threatened and humiliated again and again by these adults, her emotional defenses completely collapse.
이런 것들도 어른이라고. 니들 같은 것들도 어른이라고. 소희한테 미안하다고 전해줘.
Just like that, Pil-ho witnesses Mina fall to her death. With Mina gone, Kwon Tae-ju figures that killing one or two makes no difference, and decides to end it once and for all, to save his own life. Pil-ho shouts that he is a corrupt cop, and that as long as he is paid, he is willing to do anything. These words leave Kwon Tae-ju deeply annoyed, because if Pil-ho had said this earlier, there would have been no need to make things so complicated. After that, he brings Pil-ho to meet the conglomerate Young Yi-hyang, who gives Pil-ho $78,000 as hush money and mockingly says a few words to him.
이거 얼마겠노? 이 가시나 이거 억수로 걸렸다면서. 반 아들 평균이나 까먹고 원조 교재가 분위기 흐리고 인연 인생은 780원짜리.
Pil-ho later carries the bag of cash back with him, but he cannot feel happy no matter what. By chance, he receives a phone call and finally learns that Mina stole his money to pay for the treatment of a diver who once helped recover her friend's body. Her loyalty to her friends outweighs everything else, making even these so-called adults feel ashamed by comparison. Thinking of those people in high places who are false and hypocritical, he suddenly remembers why he chose to become a police officer in the first place. So under the pretense of returning the phone, he heads to the Taesun Group headquarters once again. This time, he even notifies the person he despises the most.
너 한기철이가 죽기 전에 나한테 동영상 보낸 거 알지? 야, 이거 공개되면 대한민국 완전 뒤집어질 걸? 나 지금 그거 가지고 태성 애들하고 쇼부 치러 왔는데 이거 안 땡겨?
After hanging up, he removes the cast from his arm and takes out non-metal gun components hidden inside, forcibly assembling a revolver, then pulls out the bullet he had concealed in his abdomen. Just as his confidence peaks, he once again sees that familiar face. Pil-ho never expected that even the restrooms at Taesun are under surveillance, proving that one small oversight can ruin everything. The ever-victorious Kwon Tae-ju realizes that Pil-ho has no real leverage left, so the now useless man is thrown into a water cage, tightly bound. Pil-ho struggles with all his strength, yet no matter how hard he tries, he cannot break free from this deadly situation. At the brink of life and death, Pil-ho focuses his eyes and notices the sealed water outlet. He dives down with all his strength, bites down hard on the chain, and after exhausting effort, finally pulls the plug loose. Believing Pil-ho was already dead, the guards quietly leave. But in the very next moment, Pil-ho emerges from the water tank. After getting out, he uses socks as a net and soap as a weapon to quietly break through their defenses in order to obtain a weapon. With no weapon, he creates an opportunity himself, and this time he succeeds, even bending Kwon Tae-ju's fingers. Filled with confidence, Pil-ho tries to press the advantage, but he does not expect Kwon Tae-ju to be so ruthless. After a fierce struggle, Pil-ho is no match for this man at all. While crying out in pain, he notices his own coat, with the gun still inside it. Summoning all his strength, he struggles toward it, and only when he gets hold of the jacket does he know victory is within reach.
미쳤어 진짜.
In the end, Kwon Tae-ju was defeated. Now, Pil-ho is completely consumed by anger, and he no longer cares about anyone's opinion, because he wants to personally pass judgment on those who ignore the law, believing that matters of judgment are best handled by villains like corrupt cops themselves.
잘 들어. 이 세상 어디에도 780원짜리 인생 없는 거야. 알겠냐?
Severely wounded, Pil-ho still thinks of the girl who feels both familiar and distant to him. He once promised Mina that he would buy her fried chicken after everything was over, but he breaks that promise. He probably never imagined that a corrupt cop who cut corners and bent the rules would ultimately turn into someone who hates evil and acts as a judge to uphold justice for the world.